If someone's need violates the bodily autonomy of somebody else's need, right, then it's an injustice and it's not justified. So if I have a need for something, right, if that need entails violating the bodily autonomy of you or another individual, whether be it human or not human, it shouldn't be justified for me to meet my need just because I have that need.
Yeah.
You just watched the video. How do you feel about it?
I mean, obviously, the treatment of those animals is very inhumane, but and that I was empathizing with those animals, but then again, I don't want to be that person, but I like my food,
Okay.
you know, so, but I also it's mainly about these animals dying that way. So if they died, in like a less inhumane way by hurting them and like killing them like in those cruncher things like those the chickens, I feel like if they sedate them and then they they actually crush them,
Okay.
I feel like that would be a better way to do it,
Okay.
if you know what I mean.
Yes. I understand what you mean, but I'm going to ask you a few questions.
course.
Okay. So you say you oppose the way they kill them,
Yes.
right? And you said there's a more humane way.
Yeah,
Do you know the meaning of the word humane?
like more ethical.
So do you think these animals have the desire to live?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Yeah.
So is there an ethical way to take their life away from them?
I mean, not necessarily, but it's needed to, like, help with our needs in a way and cravings. And I'm not saying that these animals are less than us because they're not. We're all living and we're all sentient. So I feel like that they shouldn't be killed. And I'm sure that there are other plant version, like plant chicken nuggets or something.
There
like
are,
that.
yes.
Yeah, there are. But I feel like there is a need for certain protein, and I get that there is protein supplements. So, but there's also the food chain because the same animals are being killed in like the rainforest or the jungle. So it's just us as humans, we're deliberately reproducing them and we're using their offspring to kill them, which I feel is a very inhumane way of doing it. Like, for example, if we did it like the other animals that do it naturally, that would be fine because that's the, what's it called? I did in biology, sorry. The level of the food chain. So I feel like if it was in the level of the food chain, it would have been like a much better way. But
But we have organized societies today, right?
yes.
And in order to sustain those societies and to meet the demand for animal products, the only way to meet that demand is by creating factory farms. So there's no sustainable way to meet the demand for meat and other animal products when we live in societies like we are today. So, and the whole problem with animals being exploited and treated this way is because we view them as lesser than, as objects that we are free to do what we want with.
Of course, but that's up to the person. Wait, can you give me a second? My
Yes,
mom's
of course.
phoning me. Hi, mommy, I'm doing an interview.
That was a quick one.
Basically, there are certain humans who see them as less than. Like me, I try to limit my meat intake for those reasons. So I feel like there are a certain amount of humans who take advantage of these breeding farms and they end up slaughtering these animals. And I feel like if you limit it to a certain extent, then it would kind of go with like natural selection and the food chain, and I feel like it would be sustainable. Like to not eat an excessive amount of meat, I feel like that should be okay. But eating an excessive amount of meat, I feel like that's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes. So you're advocating for reducing.
I'm advocating for reducing, and I'm also advocating for like a limit and a balance of plant-based and
Can I?
animals.
I'll address a few of the points you made earlier.
Sure.
Okay. So you said that animals in the wild kill other animals, so that makes it acceptable, I guess. But those animals don't have the capacity to make ethical choices, right? They act out of instinct.
Yes,
Yes.
of
Do
course.
you agree that humans have the capacity to make ethical choices?
They do have the capacity to make those choices.
Is it then, when we have the capacity to make ethical choices, isn't it preferable to make ethical choices versus justifying unethical choices because animals in the wild do unethical things to each other?
Of course it is, but then again, I'm gonna bring it back to the food chain, because humans, we evolved from like monkeys, obviously. So, and these monkeys, like, they they killed actual things in the wild, and I feel like as humans we all evolved and we got used to that. So I feel like now that we're here, obviously we can make a change, but it's not going to be as big of a change.
We don't need to do that anymore, right?
Of course we don't, but we can, and we can do it to a certain like limitation.
Okay. But since you are advocating for reducing and you feel empathy for these animals and you're saying that we should treat them humanely, isn't it more preferable for the animals and from the animals' point of view to just leave them alone? Like, even if you reduce your consumption of meat, some animals are still going to be exploited, right?
Yes,
Do
of
you know?
course.
Do you know the meaning of the word vegan? You heard it before?
Yes, so when they only eat meat and like, sorry, they only eat plants and not plants, plant-based things, and that don't cause harm to animals.
It's basically not about harm reduction.
Or no,
It's
like
it's it,
animal products.
It's yes, it's an ethical position, an ethical principle against the exploitation of animals for all reasons,
Yes.
right? So the diet is one part of it, but it's just a practice.
Yeah.
It's not the what it means, right? It's an ethical principle that you hold, that I am against animal exploitation and animal slavery.
Yes.
So you view animals as individuals who deserve freedom, right? So if you advocate, for example, if you were in the ages where slavery was legal, yes, would you advocate for less slavery or slavery with better conditions or the abolition of slavery?
The abolition of slavery, but slavery.
It's the same with animals. They are our slaves.
No, I wouldn't.
We breed them into existence with the sole purpose to exploit them and kill them.
I wouldn't.
Isn't that if that's not enslavement, what is?
I'd like to say like natural death as well. Not only putting them under some kind of anesthesia and then shooting them in the head or slitting their throat. I feel like they should die naturally, and then we should like feed off of their carcass.
If that's not necessary, why do it? Have you ever had a dog or a cat or some animal
Yes,
that you
I have.
interacted?
I have. And
When your
I
dog
currently
and
have them.
when your dog or cat passed away from if I don't know if you ever experienced that. Okay, I'm making an assumption.
have.
If your dog passed away, would your first instinct be, okay, now that he or she is dead, I should eat their body or honor it?
No, I feel like I should honor it, but there's a difference between household pets and farmland pets.
What's the difference in their capacity to suffer and experience the world?
There isn't a difference, but you can't keep a cow in your house. You can keep a dog or a cat in your house or a bird, but you can't keep a cow or a pig.
But okay, so you can't keep a cow or a pig as a pet. Some people do.
Some
But
people
but
do.
what? How is that different as a justification to still exploit them? We can let them be.
It's not justifying exploiting them, but it's just a better way of, I don't know how to explain it, but like,
If you were in their position,
okay, but once they've passed away, they don't feel anything, they don't feel fear. So I don't know, why would anyone feel the need to like honor?
no, okay. You're making an argument to eat animals that died from natural causes.
Yeah,
okay, that would
and
be,
that
let's
they
say,
died peacefully.
that would be the most ethical way to eat an animal. Let's say,
Yes.
okay, but you don't need to. And
don't-
you don't need to. In the current state of things, people are breeding animals into existence to kill them, to eat them. We're not eating animals that died naturally. And if we wanted to if we wanted to eat only animals that died naturally, and everybody on the world wanted to eat animals that died naturally 3 times a day, or I don't know how many times a day, there wouldn't be enough animals that died from natural causes
Yes,
on the earth.
obviously,
The only sustainable way is this.
Yes, but like I've said
The solution
before,
is to be vegan.
like I said before, there should be a certain amount of limitations.
Yes.
So I feel like the animals that died naturally, we should eat those. And I feel like it should go vice versa for animals, if you know what I mean. Like if we die in their habitat, then they have every right to eat us. If those animals die in our environment, we have every right to eat them. So that's my ideology.
That's your ideology.
Yes.
So then you're saying eat animals only that died in the wild. Are you adhering to that?
No, not animals that only die in the wild. But look,
No,
say-
sorry, not in the wild, from natural causes, right?
Yes, for natural causes. But say you have a farm, a normal farm, not purposely for letting them die of natural causes, a farm that you milk them regularly and not over milk them. Or I'm talking about cows here, and one of them dies. I feel like you have every right to eat that cow. So
But that cow has been exploited for her milk over and over again. And you know how cows produce milk?
No, wait.
They have to be impregnated.
no, I know, but I'm not talking about their milk. Right now I'm talking about their body and their dead meat. And I feel like in that scenario, I feel like it is ethically humane to eat the animal.
Okay.
And as for the milking,
I'm not going to argue against that. So, in your theory, we should be vegan and only be allowed to eat animals when they die from
when
natural
they die from
causes.
natural causes, exactly.
So why are you not doing that then?
I mean, like I said, I try to limit my meat intake as much as possible. So I try to do it as if those animals died from natural causes. Like I eat meat, I don't know, once every 3 days.
Okay. But the reality is that they didn't die from
They
natural
didn't-
causes.
I know.
They were exploited for their flesh.
I mean, obviously, but they haven't been exploited in the way that they've been killed and they've been physically harmed. They've been they've died. They haven't felt any fear. When they were dying, they felt comfort. So I feel like in that way, it's not really exploiting them.
You're talking about the scenario that eating animals that died from
Yes.
natural causes. Okay, that one I agree with you.
Okay.
Right? You're using their flesh when they died from natural causes,
Yes.
fine. But you're not adhering to that. You're still eating animals that were exploited for their flesh.
Yes, but the thing is, that's not me, and that's society as a whole.
Yeah.
I feel like if society as a whole started doing that, it would be much easier to do it, and there would be.
Why not advocate for not exploiting animals at all and being vegan?
I
Why
mean-
why put a limit on
Because-
how much animals you can eat?
I'm gonna seem like a real fat ass, but it's true. I like the taste of meat, and I love meat. But
So that's the real reason then.
no, it's not the real reason. I also feel for them, and
Then how can you put your taste pleasure more than their
I'm not putting.
right
I'm not putting it
to
in
their
question.
own body autonomy?
Like I said, I try to balance, But also, this isn't about me. This is a society as a whole. So I feel like society as a whole should do what I said. Once they die, we eat their flesh, and after that, I feel like everyone, as a community, should try their best to
So we shouldn't breed, exploit, and murder animals.
we shouldn't murder and excessively breed them. No.
Why not excessively not stop breeding them altogether?
No, excessively breeding, I agree. We should stop excessively breeding. Like I said earlier, we should stop excessively breeding and waiting for them to die, like I was saying. But I feel like if they're breeding at a normal pace and then they die, I feel like that should be an okay reason. And I'm saying, as a society as a whole, if we start doing that, it's gonna be much better for the environment, and I feel like we can eat these.
Wouldn't it be better for the society as a whole to be vegan instead of waiting for animals to die from natural causes?
I mean,
And because it's not only the food, because we're focusing too much on food, okay?
the humanity of it.
It's about also not exploiting them for other reasons, not viewing them as objects to be put in cages for entertainment, not testing on them for cosmetics.
That's a granted. I don't agree with that at all, 100%. I don't agree that they should be tested on for cosmetics. I don't agree that
Zoos and aquariums.
zoos, in my opinion, are just a shit show in general. Like there was just a monkey who was getting bullied and no one's doing anything about it. Like, okay, he got a stuffed animal, but so what? They're not doing anything about it, and people are going and they're viewing like these animals for their entertainment. And I feel like that is wrong. And for that reason, ever since I was, I don't know, 8, I've never gone to see, like, I've never gone to a zoo.
Okay, that's good.
Because I feel like it's just morally inhumane. And I feel like if I have children in the future or I'm babysitting someone's child and they ask me to go to a zoo, I'll say no because I don't agree with it at all. So, and when I have
Alright,
when I
alright.
have a belief, I stand for it.
Okay.
So,
I like that. So the thing is, the only difference with being vegan is that you extend that mindset, that boycott of a form of animal exploitation to all forms of animal exploitation, right? Because somebody might make the argument against you when you said, I don't want to go to zoos. I would tell somebody's child if I was babysitting them, don't go to a zoo because animals are not
I wouldn't
are not spectacles for
I
entertainment.
wouldn't tell other people not to go to a zoo, but I wouldn't be babysitting someone's child and be telling the way I'll do it. If I'm babysitting someone's child
Yeah,
and
yeah,
going to
and
take them to a zoo, I won't take them to a zoo.
Yes, I understand your example.
But
So
I won't go to like my family reunion and be like, oh, you're not going to zoo anymore. It's bad. Like in my opinion, I feel like everyone should have their own opinion and
Yes.
their own way on doing stuff.
But-
But I also feel like they should be educated on how they do it. Like how I do it, in my opinion, I feel like I do it regulated, and I don't think how I do it is right because I know these animals they were killed inhumanely and they suffered, and I know that. But I feel like I said before, if us as a society as a whole started doing what I was saying, I feel like that would benefit so many things in so many ways. And
what's the difference with advocating for being vegan then? Why advocate for everyone to just keep meat in their diet as long as the animals died from natural causes and just not advocate for animals to be left alone and be free?
I don't know. I don't advocate for animals' rights, but I keep my beliefs to myself. But if someone asks me about it, then I talk about it. You know.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Like you keep your belief to yourself, right? But if everybody in matters of injustice felt that way, that those who are speaking up against injustice are somehow imposing, then no injustice would ever end.
Yeah.
So this is an injustice that deserves to be brought on the spotlight and be talked about at least.
But in some way,
It's the biggest injustice that that happens, right?
I agree with you. In the way that they are killed, it is a very big injustice towards them. But in my opinion, like I said, that how I described it, that's not an injustice. In my opinion, others might have their own opinion, and that's fine. But in my opinion, that it's done more humanely. So it's and right now in 2025, it is done very much excessively.
2026.
Sorry, my bad. I'm still stuck in 2025. But it's very excessive on the way that they're doing it, and I feel like that should be stopped. And I feel like there should be more humane ways.
I disagree with you. I feel like the solution to the problem of animals being excessively bred into existence only to be murdered for our consumption is for people to stop viewing them as objects and start viewing them as individuals and becoming vegan. And then gradually the demand for their flesh will drop and any other product that comes from them.
Yeah, obviously, but it's so you can't come and tell someone like, oh, you have to go vegan, and then you give them all the reasons, and even if they're very good reasons, they're not going to tell you, oh yes, I'll go vegan, because that's not going to happen. Other people have their wants, they have their needs, they have their cravings.
But it does. People have their needs and their cravings. I agree, but when we're talking about injustices, we have to view it from the point of view of the victims,
Yes,
not the
of course,
not the point of view of the oppressors.
I know what you mean, but also there are other people.
We're not forcing anybody to be vegan, by the way. We're
you're
making
just giving
arguments.
suggestions and giving arguments.
We're
yes.
educating people on veganism
yes,
and the animals.
Also, I feel like everyone has their needs and their wants, and I feel like those should be fulfilled to a certain extent. If they're excessive, like I said, breeding those animals too much, then I feel like that should be stopped.
If someone's need violates the bodily autonomy of somebody else's need, right, then it's an injustice and it's not justified. So if I have a need for something, right, if that need entails violating the bodily autonomy of you or another individual, whether be it human or not human, it shouldn't be justified for me to meet my need just because I have that need.
Yeah.
Because there are certain injustices. I'm gonna bring an example here, an extreme example of Jeffrey Dahmer, right?
I hate him, sorry.
Yes, he had a need.
He did
Would
have
you
a
say, okay, Jeffrey Dahmer had a need, so it's okay for him to fulfill that need?
No,
No,
but-
because he violated the bodily autonomy of individuals who
But-
wanted to live,
but-
and he drugged them before, and he did it humanely. So
No,
they didn't suffer.
He didn't really do it humanely because they weren't dead yet. They could still feel. They still had they could still feel.
Yes, but the
So-
argument here is that somebody's need is not a good enough justification to exploit and violate the bodily autonomy of another individual.
Of course, but then the senses of wants are much harsher. But also, wait, I have a question. Would you support someone when someone dies, they donate their body to science?
Yes.
Because in that case, it's the same. They're exploiting their body is being exploited.
Yes, but they consented to it.
But-
If I consent, the important thing here is consent, right? If you consent to donate your body to science, then obviously you consent.
But-
Animals here, they are unable to consent, and in most parts they show with their behavior that they actually do not consent.
But it also doesn't always happen with consent. Sometimes it does just happen, and like that, like someone dies and then I don't know, you see their body in a museum of science, and I feel like that's very inhumane.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if they actually do that. If they donate their parts, their body parts. But anyway, I think your friends are waiting for you over there.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you so much.
I'll give you a card.
Okay.